Hello everybody. In part 1 of cephalochordates, we have studied Amphioxus as a representative example of cephalochordates, and we have understood how the body of Amphioxus looks like. It is fish-like in form, has a streamlined body with no head, and the body consists of just two parts, that is the trunk and the tail, and three types of fins, that is dorsal, caudal, and the ventral fin exist, and two folds, which are ventral, are the metapleural folds. Besides this, the animal has a notochord which extends from one end to the other and persists throughout life, and on the dorsal side of the notochord is the nerve cord. The brain may be rudimentary, and it can be just made out or studied using electron microscopy and gene expression. Apart from the notochord and nerve cord are present the myotomes and the gonads. Sexes are separate, and a larval form is included. Then we have studied the history of this animal, Amphioxus, how it was discovered, etc. And we have tried to understand thus we have just tried to understand what are the features of cephalochordates as such. And we have come to know about the features only by looking at this particular animal, Amphioxus or the branchiostoma. In today's class, we will try to understand the various aspects of Amphioxus, and we'll try to understand the affinities of Amphioxus with the different animals. So we will try to understand the affinities of Amphioxus or cephalochordates with invertebrates, urochordates, and chordates. And we'll try to understand how similar or how dissimilar this particular group of cephalochordates is, and why it needs to be included in a separate subphylum. So first of all, in case of invertebrates, we find that the points of similarity are: one is the enterocoelic coelom. Now, in case of the enterocoelic coelom, we understand that the coelom is formed by the pouches which are given out by the archenteron, and these pouches later on elongate and merge to form the mesoderm. Thus, three layers are formed, that is ectoderm, mesoderm, and endoderm, and mesoderm has the cavity which is the coelom. So one is the enterocoelic type of development of the coelom, which is found in echinoderms, is a characteristic feature of cephalochordates. Next are the solenocytes. Solenocytes are the flame cells, and these flame cells are responsible for the excretion of the excretory material in the body of cephalochordates. Next is the digestive system. In case of the cephalochordates is ciliated, which is very much similar to that found in the various invertebrates. Now let's try to understand the kind of affinities the cephalochordates have with the urochordates. So the representative I have here in front of me is the Herdmania of urochordates. So urochordates are also referred as tunicates, right? So the points of similarity are: one is pharynx has numerous gill slits. Then atrium opens. We have seen that the atrium is a cavity, and that opens to the outside by the atrial pore or the atriopore. Then the pharynx has on the dorsal side, it has the epipharyngeal groove. On the ventral side, it has the endostyle, and the peripharyngeal bands are also present. Next, we have also seen that the notochord is present. Notochord is present throughout the life of the cephalochordates, and it extends from one end to the other, that is anteriorly to the posterior end. But in case of the urochordates, you find that a notochord is present, but only in the larval form. Next, we have also seen that the pharynx, which is present in the in cephalochordates opens into the intestine like the urochordates. But there are certain dissimilarities also. For example, now we are looking at Herdmania. This is a sedentary form, that is, it is attached to the substratum by a foot, and it has flabby, irregular body. So, but in case of cephalochordates, you find that all these cephalochordates are free-swimming forms, so they are highly active. Next, the heart is well developed in case of the urochordates, but in cephalochordates you do not have a well developed heart. Then in the urochordates the coelom is reduced, but in the cephalochordates it's not reduced. Then the notochord. Now in case of the cephalochordates, only in the larval forms you find a notochord, and that too it is present in the tail region. But in case of the cephalochordates, you find that the notochord extends from one end to the other and persists throughout life. So right from the anterior end to the posterior end it is present in the animal and is present throughout life. So these are some of the points of differences between the urochordates and cephalochordates. But there is one major difference, that is, in case of cephalochordates, we find that the metamorphosis is of the retrogressive type. What do we mean by retrogressive metamorphosis? Is the metamorphosis or the development of the larval form into an adult happens in such a way that the larval form is highly advanced and it loses all the advanced features, and the adult is a very simple form. Whereas in case of cephalochordates, you find that the metamorphosis is of the progressive type. So the larval forms are very simple and they give rise to the adult forms, which are highly complex. So this is about the various kinds of differences and similarities one encounters within the urochordates when you compare the urochordates to the cephalochordates. Next is we will try to understand that there are certain chordate features as well which are present in cephalochordates. Now basically because of its streamlined spindle-shaped body, Amphioxus is classified in the category of Pisces because it looks fish-like, and it has the same kind of features like the fins are present as you find in the fishes. So for instance, in case of cephalochordates, the body is laterally compressed and it has two pointed ends. The anterior end is pointed, so is the posterior end. Next, the post-anal tail is present, the tail region is present. The fins are of three types, that is the dorsal fin, caudal fin and the ventral fin. And notochord, as we see, it persists throughout life and it is present right from the anterior end of the body to the posterior end. Gill slits, I told you, are present on the pharynx, and these are numerous. And the nerve cord is just above the notochord, and we can see here that the notochord, just above the notochord is a nerve cord, and it is a tubular structure. And the blood vascular system is very much similar in case of the cephalochordates to that found in the fishes, and a dorsal aorta is also present, and the liver acts is like a projection from the gut. Now there are a couple of other features which we must consider. Now there are a couple of differences as well. For example, if you look here, the fishes have a well-defined head, whereas in case of cephalochordates, the head is missing, so the body is divisible into just trunk and tail. Now, the brain in most of the chordates is protected by the skull. So here there is the brain is almost rudimentary, and it can be just made out by gene expression and electron microscopy, and thus therefore there's no protection over the rudimentary brain, so no skulls are present. no skulls, no skull, no jaws. And if you look at the fins also, these are unpaired. That is, the dorsal fin, caudal fin, and the ventral fin are all unpaired. And there are no limbs, as you find in the higher animals. That is, the forelimbs and hind limbs are also missing. Exoskeleton, which usually consists of the feathers or the scales, that's also missing. The heart, well-developed heart, is also not there. And sense organs along with the brain are not there. Like brain is rudimentary, but the sense organs are not developed at all. And a couple of things are also present, like the blood is colorless, and the cerebral vesicle or the so-called brain is very poorly developed, and the gonads are many in number. Now we must try to understand that there are three types of features in case of cephalochordates. That is, one are the primitive features where the simple characters are present in the adult, and second are the specialized features where simple characters during a course of time develop into complex ones, and these complex features help to perform a particular task. And the third category are the degenerate. Degenerate would mean complex characters are simply lost, or they turn into very simple characteristics. So thus there are three types of features. One are the primitive features, specialized features, and the degenerate features. So in case of the cephalochordates, you find that they share certain features which are primitive, or certain primitive features are present within the cephalochordates. One is the presence of a notochord, but usually the notochord forms a bony casing or cover around the nerve cord. So that is the vertebral column, but no such vertebral column is present. So this is a primitive feature. Pharynx has numerous gill slits, and we have also seen that the pharynx helps in filter feeding. The specialized digestive system is also missing. Locomotion is by means of swimming, but the fins are unpaired. And eyes and the other receptor organs are all missing. Dermis, heart, is not there. A properly developed heart is missing. Then the brain is also rudimentary. The intestine is straight without loops. Eggs are small without any yolk. And there are certain, so these are all primitive features, or very simple features which just allow the animal to exist, like the notochord being present but not a vertebral column. Pharynx with numerous gill slits. Locomotion is just swimming, but it is not helped by paired fins. And the receptor organs like the eyes, etc., they are also missing. Then brain is poorly developed, intestine is straight, eggs are small, etc. Now there are certain degenerate features also. Degenerate features would mean that the animal has lost certain features over the course of time. So one is the brain, and the sense organs have been reduced, or the brain has been reduced and the sense organs lost. And it is believed that the brain has got detached from the nerve cord. But certain specialized features also present. One specialized feature is the presence of pharynx with numerous gill slits. The second is the presence of an oral hood. Oral hood which helps in filter feeding. Next, the presence of the atrium, and which opens to the outside by the atriopore, and asymmetry of the larva, obliteration of coelom by the development of atrium. So all these are the specialized features. So thus the features are of three types. One is the primitive features. One category are the primitive features. Second are the degenerate features, like the loss of brain and sense organs, or rather the brain is rudimentary but there is a loss of sense organs. And the third category are the specialized characteristics, like the presence of a large pharynx with numerous gill slits, oral hood which helps in filter feeding, presence of atrium and atriopore, asymmetry, and then obliteration of coelom by the growth of the atrium. Now, looking at all these features, it is justified to put Amphioxus in the category of cephalochordates, and therefore cephalochordates is a separate subphylum because it is in close proximity with the chordates, but yet it is dissimilar too. Therefore, a separate subphylum, Cephalochordates, has been created to place these two animals into it. One is Asymmetron and the other is Amphioxus.